You're listening to the Live Out Loud podcast with River Wynn and Michelle Flamer.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Michelle.
So, hey, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. This week, we have a special guest. Actually, my only guest. River had a very busy weekend where she was. I happened to be in Utah hanging out with my mom, and we thought we would do a special episode today on, connecting and raising kids, but also um, really about how adult children and parents connect and talk and build relationships beyond those teenage and toddler years. Do you remember the toddler years, Mom?
Yes,
That's not an old joke, I promise.
I remember them.
What were your favorite ages actually for Kenny and I? Do you remember what ages you liked the best?
I guess around 6 and 8.
What, because we still listen to you, or?
Not necessarily. Um, I guess because you were own people, you were developing your own personalities, and I enjoyed seeing you two interact with each other.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, how's this weekend been for you so far? Us hanging out in Utah together.
We've been having a great time as far as I'm concerned.
I know, me too.
We're doing lots of things that we both enjoy.
That's
and,
so
and
true.
doing them together. So
Well, and I think that's something that really helps to formulate a good friendship with your parent. It's like having common interests. And so some of those common interests that we do are you and I love nature. You're a photographer, and we love going on road trips and traveling. You've traveled all over the world. What's been some of your favorite things?
it's been hard. I've been to Africa, I've been to Brazil, I've been to Alaska. Um, some of my favorite places for doing photography, nature photography, animals mostly.
That's cool. And I will put in the show notes, you guys. She's been a photographer for years and she has her own website. So I'll put your website up in the show notes for people.
Perfect.
Um, Cooper's here also. If you guys hear the dog in the background, sorry for that. But so how does it feel to be a parent of adult kids now? Like, how has our relationships evolved? I mean, I know you have a very different relationship with Kenny than you do with me. So what?
Similar. I guess having older children um, is great because I don't have to parent them so much anymore. We can be friends and share a lot of stuff that when they were little you wouldn't talk about. And the feedback I get from my kids, I lean on them and they lean on me. So it's a real symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I love that word, symbiotic. That's a good word. What was some of the hardest parts of watching us kids become an adult and maybe go out into the world? Were there any fears at any point?
Just worried about your safety,
Mm-hmm.
when you first started to drive and um, be out with your friends at night and things of that sort. It's a worry. But I think if you give your kids a good basic, um, healthy understanding of the world and what you expect from them, then it usually comes out all right.
We were laughing yesterday, right, about the pot smoking and like,
Oh, when they were teenagers,
yeah.
that was funny because my particular way of, I guess, parenting was to tell them what I expected from them. And some of the funny parts were I used to say to them, if you're going to smoke grass, then do it at home. So about a month later, I came home and both Kenny and Michelle were sitting on the front,
It was actually me and Scott
oh,
Carson.
was it?
Yeah, it
Oh, it
was
was
no,
Kenny.
Kenny was outside
Uh,
playing, but it was just Scott and
oh,
I out on the
on
front,
the curb,
the
on the
front curb
curb.
in front, like every neighbor could walk out and
That's
just
right.
see us.
That's right.
It was very exposed.
Yeah.
And you were like, get in the backyard at least.
And when they were little, I always let them uh, get get their own ideas out. If, for instance, if they were coming home and saying swear words when they were, I guess, grammar school. And I would say, okay, if you want to swear, I'm going to give you 5 minutes and you can swear up and down. And then after that 5 minutes, you're done. I did the same thing with when they're only 2 years apart. So they roughhoused a lot in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't particularly crazy about all the noise and commotion.
Mm-hmm.
But I said to them, okay, you've got 5 minutes to roughhouse and then it's done. So, and they were pretty good about that. And it seemed to, they were able to be themselves and that was good.
I think one of the things that I really appreciated about your parenting, and I think that's why Kenny and I didn't really, I don't think there was a lot of lying. I felt like there was a lot of ability and spaciousness to like say the truth. Like, hey, I'm going to a friend's house. I have no idea if there's a parent there. Like, I think that was just very Gen X, of like, not taking it too far. I mean, we won't tell Kenny stories today, but I definitely did not take it too far. I mean, the only thing that I can really remember was the time where I had my driver's permit. Do you remember this story? Yep, and I took
Yeah, I remember.
I took your car literally 2 blocks to the grocery
To park
store.
it. Yeah.
And I was so excited the way with the way that I parked. Like I thought I did everything right. And you weren't home.
No, no.
And so I kept hemming and hawing and waiting too long, I think. And so obviously the universe had another wanted me to
Plan.
get in trouble, had a plan exactly. And I pulled up and you were standing
There.
right there like, what is happening? So I think I mean I truly believe like I mean I did get grounded a little bit, but it wasn't horrible or anything. I was safe and that was your main concern, and obviously your car being okay. I didn't crash it or crash into
More,
somebody else.
more
More
worried,
important.
more worried about you.
Yeah,
That's all.
totally. Is there so our listeners are amazing and a lot of them are single moms and or going through divorces. Um, how did you find a way to like ground us through that time? Like really, like allow Kenny and I think we went to a therapist.
Yeah, during the divorce time, I basically let each of you respond once once your father left the house, which I knew was going to be traumatic for both of you.
Yeah.
I found that you both broke down about it at different times
Mm,
and in different ways. So it's just something, and I'm a product of a divorce as well. So I understood what the kids were going to go through.
it's okay.
Um, and so when the divorce happened, I just watched for each of them because I knew they were going to break down at some point. It
Yeah.
was going to hit them. At first it was a novelty. Oh, we'll go over to dad's. Oh, we'll be
Right.
at mom's.
We have 2 cool rooms, we have two this and that, but
Yeah,
then
and
at
you're
some
getting
point,
spoiled
right.
because of the divorce.
All right.
So, but at some point it hit you,
Yeah.
so I watched for that. At
Yeah.
least having an experience of it myself, I think helped you go through that.
Yeah, I think I just remember us going to a therapist and talking like a kid's therapist and how she sort of talked us through and stuff. But I know that Kenny and I had very different experiences, obviously, but he's not here to talk about his. But for me, I looked at it upon it as like a good experience because I knew both of you would be able to be happy. And so learning all these experiences sort of obviously the way that me going through my divorce a couple of years ago and how I wanted to handle it is different than the way that you and Dad handled it. And I think, being able to connect and talk about that over the last couple of years, you and I, which has been really cool, where we're not being defensive with one another. And I think it's showcased like how far you and I have come. I mean, I think there's so many people out there that really don't have an opportunity to even have a great connection like with a parent. Like they're either coming out and they're being ostracized because it could come from a very religious family or political backgrounds and things like that. I think with the country and us going through the recent elections, I feel like, again, it's very divided, and there's a lot of people who just they can't talk to their parent, and I always find it so sad, and I always find myself in a space of gratitude because of that. But I think it's like, what advice would you maybe give parents who have kids who are 8 and 9, maybe going through divorce? Again, I love your idea, what you just told them a bit ago. Any other ideas of that they could have take away today, where um,
Just spend a lot of quality time, if you have one or two with each of the children, and get them outlets.
mm,
I can relate to a divorce from my perspective because I was very lucky to love sports. And I think that that helped me having an outlet. I would play tennis or I'd play basketball and things of that sort, so that it provided me an outlet and friends that like the same and share the same activities. And I think that's very important for children to have either creative outlets or sports or both.
I love that. What were some core values that were important for you to instill with both of us?
Starting as young children, I think that, and I don't know why I thought this way, but it came innate to me as a mother, to if you had to discipline your kid, to prioritize what's the most important thing. Well, for me, the most important thing is you don't want your child to run in the street and either hurt themselves or hurt somebody else. To me, that was first,
Safety first.
safety first,
Yeah,
and respect for your friends and your family.
yeah.
But if you want your kids to
Mm-hmm.
feel that they can do whatever they want,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as they're not hurting themselves or someone else, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. I mean, so those core values, like I remember I remember a really cool moment where we were sitting in the front living room area where we used to read there, remember? Like you would just kind of read to
Mhm.
us and or you would show us some new things. And I remember us talking about careers. And you've instilled this from the get-go with us. And I
That's
know you
right.
know exactly where I'm going with this because you used to tell us, and I tell people this, like my mom used to say that if I wanted to be a garbage collector, serious, like you just used like a most mundane, blue collar
You could do,
gig,
yeah.
that if you want to be a garbage collector, you be the best garbage collector that you can be. Because as long as you are enjoying what you do, you really instilled the part where you hoped we enjoyed what we did and it didn't feel like a job.
Yeah, that's the most important. Absolutely. And I remember saying that to you exactly. And I remember Kenny testing me after that. He came back to me like 2 days later and said, Mom, I think I want to be a forest ranger. I said, Oh, great. I can come visit you, bring my camera and take pictures. So yeah, I think I wanted them to be happy whatever they were doing. And
Hmm.
it didn't matter to me. I mean, of course, I wanted them to have a good life. So, that was the important thing.
You hoped whatever you kind of were saying like whatever you end up loving and enjoying doing, that the money will come. Like you just were so easygoing about that. It kind of instilled like, yeah, as long as we're loving what we're doing, then the money comes. So I found it always so fascinating that Kenny and I actually really do enjoy what we do in our careers, and I think that has a lot to do with you setting that tone. But
And this, if I can interject,
yeah,
it reminds me of the fact that I wasn't a working mom.
that's right.
And I didn't really, I had some college.
Mm-hmm.
And when the divorce happened, I had to figure out what I needed to do in order to provide for my household and the children.
Yeah.
And so I remember the kids' reaction. I got a job as a sales rep
Yep.
in the photography industry, which was something I knew very well. But when I came home, the kids had this total different opinion of me. It was like, wow, mom, you've got a job, you know.
It's true because you were raising us for almost 11 years, at
Well,
home.
compared to dad, who
That's
had
right. Who was
always
always,
worked.
of course, and that was the time, the sign of the time. I mean, there's a lot of, our listeners, there are a lot of them struggling because some of them are having to find new workplace, job in the workplace and making money and, and the worries, I mean, of God, am I going to make rent? And just that fear that gets instilled into moms especially, but moms are the hardest working folks out there.
Yeah, but when you're working outside of the house and then you have to kind of find something that I had to find something that I could be back home at 3 o'clock when the kids came home from school.
That's right. Had to
and
be
and
flexible.
and that was okay. But God forbid I forgot to pick them up from somewhere because I
Uh,
was I was late because of traffic or anything.
That's such a Gen X thing, though. I think we all like sat outside. Your mom late again? Yeah, me too. It's like we're all just hanging out there together after school or something, or at temple or wherever we were. But yeah, were there moments at all that you doubted the way you were parenting?
Not really.
That's
I
amazing.
know that sounds strange, but it became innate.
Mm,
And I had so much fun with both of you. I
hmm.
mean, if you were in sports, if you were playing, they both played Little League together. If your listeners don't know,
Yeah, they don't.
they were both on the same Little League team 2 years apart. Michelle was a catcher
Yep.
and Kenny was a pitcher.
Yeah.
And anyway, and I didn't mind going out and playing with them and, in between
Well,
games
I think you helped us throw a ball better than Dad actually.
and probably.
And probably hitting too. I mean, she's a true athlete. I mean, we definitely, got our athletic prowesses from you, but yeah, I'm just so curious.
And
Yeah.
how about when you were in college and you started to play tennis,
Yeah.
which is one of my sports?
Yep.
And I remember we were playing, and I had a feeling that it was hard for you to beat me.
Uh-huh.
So I finally said, Michelle, go ahead, take
Take
the
the reins.
point.
Yeah, you're all take the reins. Stop holding back or whatever. You were cute. You were just like it's oh, I think you said changing of the guard or something that to that. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I think just growing up in general, I think I truly believe you were just such a cool mom. All of our friends loved coming to our house. I mean, we were really lucky. I mean, there were hard times, there were painful times. I mean, it's not, those four walls have held a lot of stories for us in that house. My mom happens to still live in our childhood home for 50, almost 52 years now. And we have friends who still are like, I drove by and I tried to wave to your mom, but she didn't see me. I'm like, she probably wasn't expecting you to drive by, and look. But so yeah, our house is sort of iconic for all
All,
the
both kids and their friends. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, I just want to thank you, Mom. I mean, you and I can't have a relationship one-sided. So, I mean, the fact is that for whatever it is in both of us, we've done the work over the years. I mean, it takes two to tango, and it's not always exciting conversations, and sometimes they're painfully truthful. But
Well, the other thing I can say about you when you were growing up, you had a hard time because if if I was gonna confront you with something that was a negative,
yep,
the
constructive
he
criticism.
she put up a wall.
That's
I
right.
mean, a brick wall.
Yeah.
And so finally I got through to her that she was doing that, and it made a big difference. Then she was able to um let let out her feelings.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think we as teenagers, we protect ourselves with we're navigating so many big feelings and emotions, and sometimes it's hard because a lot of times you're with your friends and your friends are like, I can't talk to my parent about that. I can't talk, and you just kind of feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't be talking to my parents about this. You just don't know how to handle all those big emotions.
Emotions,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, one last story I think before is my walls were up one day, but we were going to see a movie.
Movie. Oh my God.
This is I love this story. Do you want to tell it?
Um, yeah, she was mad at me about something. We planned to go out to a movie, just the two of us, and Michelle was really mad at me about something, so much so that she didn't want to talk. So we went to the movie anyway, and we walked in and we got our tickets and went to our seats, which were kind of toward the front because we were a little late. And I said, "Excuse me, Michelle, I'll be back in a minute." And she just, I don't know what she figured I was doing, but you'd have to tell
Oh,
me.
I think you said I think I'll go get us some snacks. That's all you said. So I knew you were where you were kind
Going,
of going. Yeah.
but instead of going to the regular snack bar at the movie, there was a Mexican restaurant next door. So I went into the Mexican restaurant and I bought taco chips and dip and salsa. So tostadas and salsa.
Yeah.
And then I came back in and
With
then,
this brown bag
yes,
of chips in it
right,
and a container
container
of
of salsa.
salsa.
And then we were starting to eat it. And she looked at me and like, "You didn't get this in the theater." I said, "No, I didn't." And she started to laugh. And then she forgot all about the fact that she was mad at me.
Well, I was then concerned a little bit about how loud we
And then we
were.
were crunching so loud that we had to go way in the back of the theater so that we didn't bother
It's
everybody.
so true. Oh my God. Well, hey, listeners, I'm really glad that you guys got to hear from my mom a little bit today. And my mom is a really cool human, and I'm glad you guys got to experience a few of our fun stories. And anyways, thanks, Mom. I appreciate you.
You're very
Love
welcome. I'm
you.
very proud of you for doing this podcast.
Aw, thank
I
you.
know that everybody loves it.
Aw, thanks, Mom. Spoken like a mom. Okay. Love you.
Love you too.
If you enjoyed this episode today, be sure to subscribe and share because what do we say, baby?
Sharing is caring.